I would take my hat off, but I don't think I'd be here that long, so. Only joking. Okay, we're gonna start up with city manager. Would you, go ahead and lead off?
Yes, sir. First up, we'll receive the FY 10-11 audit report, and Amanda Wallace, our internal auditor, will introduce the item. Amanda, you have to get
You gonna sing for us also?
No, no singing.
Oh, okay.
No singing this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We're here to talk about the annual audit. We have our annual independent auditors here, Brock Wickers, Brock Franklin, and Niemeyer. This is Mr. Steve Niemeyer, and he'll present the results of our annual audit report to you and answer any questions you may have.
Council, I just want to look at a few statements in the comprehensive annual financial report, and as an overview, on page 22 of the comprehensive annual financial report, I want to just look at the statements concerning the governmental funds first. The first statement we're looking at here is the balance sheet. It's a snapshot in time as of September 30, 2011. As you can see at the bottom of the page, the unassigned net assets for fund balance for the general fund is $17.9 million at the end of the year. And this is a really very strong financial position for the city. It represents over 3 months of operating funds starting for the budget for 2012. At the top of the page, though, on the general fund, you can see essentially all of that is either in cash or investments. $4.8 million in cash and $12.7 million in investments. The other major fund that we have listed here is the 2011 bonds. And we have $29 million essentially of bond funds that are setting aside to be used on capital projects during the upcoming fiscal years. The next statement I'm going to look at is on page 24. And this is the same two funds, major funds, the governmental funds. This is all the revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 2011. We had a total for the general fund of $62.6 million of revenues and expenditures $73 million for a deficit of $10 million. This is pretty common, and that money is being transferred in. There's money is being transferred in from both the waste and the water system. The water funds we'll see in a minute, and they help supplement the general fund. So that $7.5 million comes in from those other two funds, leaving us a net shortfall for the year of $2.9 million. Again, the total fund balance is at the bottom of the page of $19 million, and it still represents over 3 months worth of operating funds. You can see on the second column on the 2011 bonds, you can see at the bottom of the page $32 million of the issuance of that debt. And then, as we mentioned before, most of that money is still sitting there available. There was some money spent during the year, $3.9 million were spent towards the capital projects that were set aside for those bonds. And so we still have $28 million left over to be spent in future years. On page 26 and 27, we can see the balance sheet for the proprietary funds, the enterprise funds. We have 4. The city of Killeen has 4 enterprise funds: the airport, solid waste, wastewater, and the drainage utility fund. The most significant of all of those funds, of course, the water and sewer enterprise fund. That you see it has net assets of $143 million, but collectively all 4 of those funds have had net assets of $233 million. So a significant amount of infrastructure is in place to provide the citizens of Killeen. The page that follows, pages 28 and 29, is it's the other part of the other side of the balance sheet. And the total net assets for the water and sewer fund here is $120 million. And again, $212 million worth in total for all 4 of the enterprise funds. The revenues and expenses for the enterprise funds are shown on pages 30 and 31. total operating revenues for these enterprise funds were $58.3 million. The operating expenses were $47.6 million. We had a surplus in the enterprise funds of $10.7 million. And so you can look at collectively between the enterprise funds and the governmental funds that the total revenues and total expenses are basically the same. It's just where they're being reported in the different funds. You can also see these transfers out. Towards the bottom of the page, $2.1 million being transferred from the solid waste project, the fund, and the water and sewer fund, $4.6 million, and in total, $7.7 million being transferred, most of which went to the general fund. We started the year with $205 million in net assets in the enterprise funds, and that net increase of $7.7 million ended the year with $212 million. So a lot of financial strength and a lot of money's investment in the enterprise funds to provide the services that the citizens require. The audit went very well this year. We were able to obtain all the information we required. The city staff received full cooperation from the finance department and from the city manager's offices to be able to verify and examine all these transactions. I mean, we went over the totals very quickly, but if you think about what's involved in the city, look at all the different funds, what we do as an audit firm is we look at all the major sources of revenues, all major activities in terms of expenditures. We investigate and gain an understanding of what those systems look like, what the controls are. We examine the systems to determine if the system is integrated. We look to see if there's proper internal controls and make sure the monies are being spent as intended. And our financial audit reflects that the numbers that we just looked at were fairly presented, and that the finance department is in fact doing just what you expected to do, make sure the monies are being spent as intended. The revenues are being properly captured and properly reported in the financial statements as well. Do you have any questions on the comprehensive financial report? Well, I'd like to say that this is a document that's produced by your staff. This is I know it's a very difficult document to get a handle on because it's 200-something pages, but it's a very important financial tool that's used by the bonding companies because your city devotes the time and energy to not only produce this document, but also to submit it to being reviewed, and it has received the last year's document received the Certificate of Excellence. This document has been submitted to be receive the Certificate of Excellence as well. We believe it will. But I really think you should be proud of your finance department, be proud of your internal auditor, who devote a lot of time and energy to producing such a fine financial document for the city.
Thank you very much
All right.
for your comments, especially